Lila muted.
Oh my God, party
Great
foul.
job.
I
Great
know, and
job.
I was just about
Gonna
to
be a
say,
terrible show.
it's another great opening that you did for us. And there's my dog howling. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with
Cheers.
Lila and Pat. Cheers. Welcome. So happy to be here. How are you, Pat? I barely made it into my seat before the countdown ended. He was watching backstage, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was freaking out a little bit. Not really. I'll just show timeline cleanses indefinitely until you arrive.
There's a lot going on in my house right now.
I'll live tweet or something.
Yeah, exactly. Just tweet through it.
Put my phone screen.
I was out there touching grass.
But I was going to say our cocktail of the week. This is for the Palestinians. Ooh, it's pink.
Yeah,
it is extremely liquorish. Like if you followed the recipe I shared, I recommend you replace half of the Arak, which is like a 100 proof.
100 proof.
It I don't know what they call it, but it's basically licorice. It's like licorice liqueur, but it's like jalapeno strong level of licorice.
It's like the essential oil of anise.
Yeah, so just a couple drops of it, but it does mix very well with lemonade once you get the balance right.
Someday we will be cheers.
And I should say, obviously, we chose it because it's Arak is the most popular drink in Palestine for those that drink alcohol there. So,
and for those of we did a good. I did not know this, so this was a Google search, and apparently it's also in Lebanon and I'm sure, obviously, in Israel. I mean, Israel, wherever. But I think
Israelis like it too.
Yeah. Yes. So that is what we are. It's from the river to the sea breeze.
Which could get us banned. That's hate speech now.
It will definitely get us censored in Congress. How are you? How is your week?
My week's uneventful. I currently have a cat under my monitor, reaching arms through, trying to grab my keyboard. I didn't even tell you this, but when I was trying to upload some of our graphics, she jumped on the keyboard. It's like she's a goddamn genius. She knows exactly the buttons to push to do things that I don't even know how to do on my laptop, on my computer.
She uploaded all of our good videos.
She deleted like five images that I
had. Well, I hope we didn't need them. We weren't counting on them. She's feisty. She's feisty.
She is feisty is one word for it. But how's your week?
It's okay, still feeling like I'm always on the cusp of the flu. I've been doing the ginger. I've been doing Mother's organic raw apple cider shots.
Have you tried freebasing Arak?
I know, 100 proof. That should kill everything. Tried. I'm taking vitamins. I'm taking cough medicine. Why does cough medicine only come, why is it only liquid form? Why can't you get a pill? It is the most disgusting tasting. Ugh. Anyway, I'm trying it all. We'll see. I'm just going to cough through it. But things are good. Things are good here. Just, it gets dark way too early for all of us these days. And I don't know. Right. I don't know, Pat. I'm looking forward to finding some joy as we discuss the events of the week.
We'll find some. There's got to be some somewhere.
Not joyous. Yeah.
Quest for joy. I did see in the chat that there's some breaking news.
Oh, yeah.
Orcas have sunk another yacht. We should have led with that story.
They sank a yacht. That's amazing. Yeah, Team Orca. Orca.
So my quick personal story. My dad used to be a teacher, and he commercial fished over the summers, and I would go out with him and fish with them for a couple of weeks. And we saw an orca out there once, and if that thing gets your lines, it'll sink the boat in no time. So
wow,
a bunch of orcas mad at a boat would easily just destroy you.
I'm waiting for Bob Iger to write another ode to his yacht, knowing that he's got those anti-billionaire, those class class war orcas out to get him. They
Yeah.
can't get there enough.
The Mansion legislation.
Yeah.
Because he liked to give. Remember when the canoe guys, kayakers, came up to his yacht?
That's right.
Yeah.
He threw a paper towel roll at them.
That was Trump, wasn't it?
I know, yeah. But they're all the same. They are all the same. Before we get to our wheel, we both are very aware, as you all know, that COVID is still, killing 13, 14, 1,500 people every week, even though nobody is talking about it. But we didn't, there's a lot to talk about, obviously, with what's happening in Israel and then domestically with politics here. So we didn't want, what's been happening the last couple of weeks is it hasn't landed on the wheel. And then at the end, we're like just running through it. And we wanted to just start to talk about very quickly just the state of COVID in the US right now. And then we will move on to the wheel just to make sure we get to it. There's not a ton to say because it's been this global pandemic that's, killing and disabling the world isn't getting much attention anymore as other things are killing and disabling. But
what better to start a show off to keep it light?
Yeah, it's joy.
Get
it's all
COVID.
joy.
Just set the mood for the whole show with some COVID.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I would just love to ask you which topic is going to bring most joy this week.
Ooh, opening with the bombing of kids.
I mean, it is rough. These are the numbers.
Sorry.
New cases, we're at about 160,000. And just know that, 10 to 20% of those turn into long COVID. 1,333 deaths just this week. One good thing is there has been quite a bit of activism, not from people in power, but just from, healthcare workers, people who are COVID aware. And we will now be having mask mandates in California healthcare settings, both skilled nursing homes and hospitals. So, that's amazing that you have to fight so hard for that, but
right.
That's a positive. Look at me. I'm bringing the positivity here.
And what are unskilled nursing homes? They're allowed in unskilled nursing homes to not mask?
Yeah, I mean, which really, yeah. That's why this is all just such a, class war. No, I think what happens is from people I know whose parents have had to go to different nursing homes, there are some where the workers are actually like registered nurses, can give them medicine and, so I guess
right.
But again, to have to tell anybody in healthcare that you should be wearing a mask, let alone the vulnerable population is just, insanity.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I go to people's homes every day for work, do electrical work for them. And I've seen a few masks lately, but I've seen more people ask me about my mask now. Like it's kind of strange to some people. Like they're more worried now that I think that I'm sick because I've got the mask on than they were before.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. I never know totally how to respond. They're like, "Oh, you're still doing that?" Like, yes, I'm very contagious. I have COVID, or I am immunocompromised. Like, I don't even know what thing. Like, people are just so wildly uninformed right now.
For me personally, when I'm in their house, I'm hired by them for work. So it's kind of awkward. Right. But like yesterday, I went into a whole spiel. I was like, "Oh, I'm not on Twitter. I got to take this down a notch." I'm like, look, I swear to God, I got into the acute infection. Like what you don't realize is the first part of COVID is just the acute phase.
Right.
And I'm sitting there and this guy, he had $1.5 million house, and it's like,
right.
But who cares? But I mean, probably not a good thing for an employee to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know, but people, I have had the people giving me vaccines at pharmacies not be up to date on the numbers. I've had my doctors where I've had to send them Lancet studies or papers from the NIH. I don't know. People just really don't know. There's just no focus on it. And I mean, obviously right now it's such a crazy time, but it's always a crazy time, and people are still getting sick and dying. So it's just,
it's really hard to reach people. I mean, like my own parents, for example, you know, I won't shut up about this stuff around them.
Yeah.
And they're always talking about how good they're being and how safe and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day I'll get a picture for them at a brewery having a good time, which I would like to be there. But like, you're really not taking it that cautiously if you're out in public, indoors in groups and not masked.
Or even, you know, I mean, again, I just want to go back to that bubble thing. Like if you have somebody in your house who isn't masked, who's not part of your bubble, who you don't know, do they have kids? Do those kids go to school? Are they, you know, how many different houses have they been in? You know, a healthcare worker who's going from one, like that's the bubble that we all used to talk about. Anyway, it's, you know, as this is happening, this is what's happened to our workforce. That is the rising disabled workers with disability in our country. So
and that's thousands of persons. So add 3 more zeros. That's 8.4 million people in our workforce
who are now disabled, unable to work. Yeah, working disabled. Right. So that's not great. And it's only getting worse. And again, like, you know, we killed off the most vulnerable people the first couple of years, right? So like that, the whole point was, oh, we're supposed to, you know, even for the people who are that sort of like, you know, Malthusian, disgusting COVID minimizing, like, well, they were, you know, they were obese, they were old, they had comorbidities. Like, okay, well, we got rid of them. Why are we still losing 1,500 people a week and disabling, you know, thousands and thousands more? We are all slowly becoming that immunocompromised group. So
we are. And if you look at this chart, there's no like dip downward. This is pretty vertical as charts go. And it's not changing. So on one level, you got, that should tell you we're all working with a lot of people disabled by COVID who probably are at further risk than most people for another, you know, should they get another exposure. And once that number gets really high, you got some real shortages at work because the disabilities could be preventing people from doing their job completely. You know, I mean, it's a real issue that is going to hit, because the acute phase is everybody dies, and you die or you don't, you know. Right. But then this is what happens after COVID, and we're seeing that number start to go up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So we really don't have much more to say except that, because we pulled the money, the U.S. pulled the money from the group that kind of like founded the whole idea of checking wastewater for COVID, and pulled that and gave it to, what was it, Google or something, you know, some private company, because why not give your pals more money? We are not getting the same kind of accumulation of data that we were at one point. And, you know, it's like that thing, if you don't like reality, you change the record. I mean, when Trump suggested it, when DeSantis suggested it, it was like a disgusting, you know, right-wing MAGA tactic. And now the whole Western world, and probably more, is doing it. And we can thank Mackenzie for that, actually. That's a Mackenzie. Thanks, Mackenzie.
We can. And the world can thank us in a large part, because we have such a powerful place in the world to, as we see in Israel, affect policy. If the US was the one country standing up to this, you know, capitalism is driving a lot of this push to ignore COVID. So, you know, and somebody in the chat was asking, how do we feel about more recent vaccines? I'm all for it. I'm going to get Novavax very soon for my next booster. I think they're great because everybody that pushed, this new mRNA vaccine is a new technology, it's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. It's going to turn you into monkeys, DNA, you know, whatever. Right. This is your old school style vaccine.
Right.
And not only does it apparently work better, more resistant to different variations in COVID, but it has that going for it. It's an old school vaccine. So it takes away a lot of these complaints that people that didn't get vaccinated had.
Yeah.
But our government, not pushing it. So
no, I mean, I think there's been 2% of the population has gotten boosted in this latest cycle of boosting. I got Novavax about a month ago. And, again, like all the people are like, oh, do your own research, making fun of the people who do their own research. If I didn't do that, and if I weren't following people who are really following this and who are medical experts, I wouldn't know that I'm supposed to get another one of Novavax 2 months from my first time, and then another one 6 months out from that. I think it's 6 months out from that. It might be 6 months from the first one. Now I have to go back and check. But there's no real literature on that. Nobody's talking about it.
And I'm hearing a lot of reports of people not being informed by their doctors of any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, you got the Novavax shot. Here's a shot. You got your shot. That's it.
Oh, yeah. My doctors didn't know anything about it. And even when I called around to different pharmacies trying to find Novavax, and I'd say, oh, do you have Novavax? They'd, yep. Do you want Moderna or Pfizer? I'm like, wait, what? No, Novavax. They didn't even know that. Costco was great. And I think I mentioned that probably half of the pharmacists there were wearing N95 or, KN95 masks, which I never see anymore in any pharmacy. Rite Aid, CVS, Walgreens, nobody's wearing masks in the pharmacy, but half of the people there were. So, I'm still getting them. I'm still having my family, we're all still getting them. I don't feel so strongly about them as I did, in 2021 at the beginning. I would way prefer that people wear masks than just rely on the vaccine. We'd all be in way better position, but yeah.
The world we live in.
There's just not a lot to say. All right. I think now we should probably move on before my coughing starts. Because yes, I did get COVID. Thank you to my younger son. No, I shouldn't do that. I did get COVID 2 months ago, and I still have not fully recovered. So I am one of the long COVID people, although certainly my version of it is way better than, or at least what we all know now, than so many people. So I don't mean to, poor me, but it stinks because I can't do much without feeling like I have to sit down and rest. And I was not the most energetic person to begin with. So I'm already starting from a deficit of just a bad mindset.
Well, you just need to see a psychologist is what they're telling us.
It's all in my brain.
It's all in your head.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Let's get to the wheel.
Let's get to the wheel. All right, what do we got? We got economy, me. We got Genocide Joe from last week, because that has not changed. Duopoly 2024, worst of the week, several timeline cleanses, and 1, 2, 3, 4, even more shots. Thank goodness. Let's spin the wheel.
Just so you know, I added a shot.
I'm so grateful.
Yeah, baby.
You and me. It's great fun.
Bella's not going to complain if I add a shot.
So, the economy, we have at times had more stuff going on that we could talk about. Now it's sort of more strikes and stuff. I mean, there's not a ton that we're talking about this week specifically on the economy. Apparently, though, the new headache for bosses, employees aren't quitting. Just last year, companies were scrambling to keep staff. Now they say not enough people are leaving their jobs. One positive part about that, I think more people are realizing that staying and organizing, trying to unionize is better long-term than just going to the next crappy job. But I don't know if that's exactly why.
I think that's a part of it. I mean, you see all these strikes and they're all working. Whether the people get everything they want, you can't dispute that they got improvements to their contracts that they wouldn't have without the strike on every strike you see.
Yeah,
because they had to strike to get it. They already weren't getting whatever they got from the strike.
Right. And even just with with the UAW, and I have not gone through every part of it with a fine-tooth comb, but because of their strike, even non-union companies are now, because what they don't want is for their people to unionize. They want to prevent that. They want to prevent collective bargaining at all costs. So they would rather give you more money per hour and pizza party or whatever. So they'll keep upping the salary. So even if it's a non-union company, when union companies do well, it's a trickle down effect. No, but it's like it's a trickle around effect. It spreads, because it makes people nervous. The CEOs.
Well, they're always changing the narrative of what they're pushing. So, I mean, we heard in my entire career of many careers, but you always heard that it costs so much to retrain and hire new employees that, you always want to try to save your employees because, there's a learning curve to their jobs.
Sure.
And I think people have forgotten that. And so these companies don't really want people to leave and go somewhere else, because when they hire a new person, they usually have to bring them in at the starting salary of somebody who's been there for 10, 15 years because they're demanding more as new employees.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they want you to be there just enough so that they don't have to retrain somebody, but not enough so that you have to get benefits.
Oh, absolutely.
And the truth is, and we've seen a couple of things this week. FTC is formally challenging more than 100 patents for widely used medical devices like inhalers and EpiPens. Pharma giants have gamed the patent process to inflate prices for devices that have been on the market for decades. This is a key step to end that greed. As we see, like Eli Lilly has just posted like 1.3 billion profit, I think, just in this quarter. Oh, in this year. Sorry, look at me. I was gonna ramp it up by 4
this week. This is
just today. No, that would be Elon Musk. So the thing that is just massively depressing that we all know is that, as people on the left, if we had more government regulation and control on companies, we wouldn't all need to fight so hard just for a living wage or healthcare. Those things should just be the cost of living. The inflation of your salary should go up with the cost of living. Like, all of that should just be understood. The fact that we have to fight just for the basics of what you need to get by. Like, if you're not keeping up with the cost of living, then it doesn't matter what the number is on your check if it can't pay for the same stuff it paid for a week ago, right? So those sorts of things, I wish those were all just regulated by the government, but our government obviously is regulated by the corporations, so that's why.
Well, obviously, we wouldn't have a 40-hour work week without regulations, without people demanding it, without a fight for it. And our culture changes. We've got AI helping in a lot of ways. We got modernization. We need to protect workers. We don't need to all be working 40 hours a week. That's crazy. So and we know that's why we've gone to this gig economy where they're trying to keep people under 30 hours because, what is it, 32 or something? It probably varies by the state, but at a certain number of hours per week, they have to guarantee you benefits. So, that's the number. That's why we have a gig economy, to try to keep people's employment under those numbers. And so you have to force this. You have to force the government to regulate stuff.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, we strike.
Yeah.
And
speaking of, just as we were about to come on, I saw that the SAG negotiating committee said that they have a tentative agreement. It was agreed on unanimously by the union leaders, and that the strike ends, I think, tonight at 12:01 or Thursday morning at 12:01, which, I haven't read it. I have no idea, but to end the strike before anybody's even, I'll have to vote on it, right? But this is the way these things always happen. As we're going to hear, there's a great deal. You got everything, we got raises and everything. They're not going to say what the raise was. They're just going to say it's a historic deal. It's the biggest climate legislation in the history of the world, even though it was like the only climate regulation. So it's also the worst climate regulation. You know, it's like they are already pumping out the headlines before anybody's read the fine print, and they have already stopped. They said that everybody can go back to work. And like right now, I'm sure you all are seeing it too. I'm getting like one notification after another. The 4-month SAG-AFTRA strike has come to an end. They've reached a deal. Well, the 160,000 members haven't seen it or voted on it yet.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I mean, you really need more rank and file representation in these situations.
I mean, come on. It's crazy. And maybe it's great. I just, you know, there are certain things, again, and I mean, you know, this was never going to happen in this one negotiation, but there are certain things that, like AI, like, you know, the huge companies, the monopolies of the huge companies, like, those are things that, of course, the SAG negotiating committee cannot handle on its own, but they are dealing with those issues that are affecting everybody. So, you know, it just puts everybody in a kind of crazy place. I am so curious now. Sorry, I can almost not focus. So as we get to the stuff we were going to talk about with the AI protections, which was one of the biggest parts of the SAG negotiations, this was from a couple days ago, because, you know, there was this like last and final offer that the studios gave us, I think, on Friday of last week. When it comes to AI protection, SAG-AFTRA isn't just fighting to protect their lowest paid members. They're fighting to protect every performer in their union and thousands of other jobs in the entertainment industry. And I think that more than anything else is the one that has struck a chord even with our, you know, A-listers or most high-profile performers, because that idea that somebody could use your image after you've passed away without your consent, I think is frightening. Then, of course, for everybody else, what that does is, you know, if crowds are done by AI and not by what we would call background or extras, there goes the lighting, the gaffers, the second AD, the makeup artists, the hair artists, the craft services that feeds people. Like, all of a sudden, all of those different jobs also go away if all it is, you know, electronic people on a computer screen. So it really does affect everybody. And of course, it affects every industry also. But I think that kind of has struck more of a chord, I think, with the A-list actors.
Yeah, because their likeness is more valuable to them. It's everything, you know.
Yeah.
And what it means is we'll have nothing but commercials with dead actors in them at some point.
And, you know, by the way, we've all seen so many famous dead people have families or estates who have sold. I mean, I have no idea if, you know, Prince and Michael Jackson and the Beatles want their stuff used for all the different things they're being used for, but it happens anyway. But at least there's like a little bit of say from people who are supposed to have cared about you.
And I mean, haven't there been like full hologram concert? Wasn't there a hologram concert by some musician that was dead?
I think. Oh, well, okay. So Natalie Cole did that with her dad, but that feels different to me.
No, there's something
like
else,
own,
but
yeah.
But again, those are
yeah.
situations where now somebody sold the rights to it. Whoever owns the rights to their likeness.
Yeah.
But
There was this cool Justine Bateman, and we talked about her last week, but she's been really good on calling people out by name on AI. She's not on the negotiating committee, but she's one of their advisors on AI. And she posted this video which shows, and this is for animation, but once we're all animated because they've scanned your body, this can happen multiple times forever into, you know, infinity. So this is showing different cartoons through the ages and how they've just been repurposed with changing skin tone or body shape. It's kind of amazing just to see how they just slap it right on there. We are all replaceable. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, and then the new story can be written by AI too. Like the whole thing can be AI from start to finish, like completely unoriginal. I mean, we're going to get a lot of that. That's just the nature of it. But because of that, you have to protect some of these jobs as we transition to that shit environment where there's no creativity.
Absolutely. And I just want to say one last thing, and then I know we'll move on. So at the end of last week, middle of last week, there was another letter. So right before we went on strike in July, there was a letter that popped up from 300 A-list stars, Meryl Streep, and now I won't be able to remember anybody else's name, but, big stars who wrote an open letter to the SAG negotiating committee saying, do not take a deal, so clearly they understood that the negotiating committee was ready to take a deal, which alerted all of us to that. So now we're on strike. Last week, another letter comes out saying, do not take a deal. We've been doing this now for 4 months. AI is way too important. Do not take a deal that isn't good. It turns out that letter was in response to a letter that was signed by some and composed by some big actors or sort of big actors, whatever, who are married to agents or who have their own production companies, just trying to push to get everybody back to work. Listen, when it's time, you should just fold, know when to call it a win. And so one of the worst is Tyler Perry. So this was last week. It's important to know what we've won for now amid ongoing strike. This is only a 3-year deal. We'll be renegotiating again soon enough, which, once you've given away rights, it's much harder to scrape them back than if you don't give them away to begin with. And
absolutely. And I mean, on top of that, when you're talking about AI, what do you think 3 years of gathering AI, like you're signing away your rights for them to use your likeness? 3 years of that is all they need to not care about the renegotiated AI because they've got 3 years of people.
I mean, it's so repugnant, especially because he is so wildly wealthy. But just to show there's no good, I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's close. He, a few years ago, fired 4 writers for union activity. So they were going to, strike his studio down in Atlanta. And I didn't realize that all of his stuff was non-union, which is so gross. It's so gross. Even if you're somebody who likes his movies, that's disgusting. Anyway,
if you like his movies, that's also disgusting. I'm sorry. I have tried to watch. I know they're not meant. I'm not his audience.
I've never made it through one. Yeah,
they're pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
All
right. So I think that's kind of all we have. Is that all we have on strike and economy stuff for this week?
Yeah, we're kind of zooming through this week on that. Israel is going to be the main focus here. So let's get to it. Yeah, let's get to it.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, I suggest I'm gonna I know do I have to keep coming back to this joke of making an audible? I'm gonna call an audible. It's important. I think it's
it's 35 minutes into our show and we haven't had a shot. This crazy. Almost proves we could do it, Lila. You and I could do it.
No way. Zip it.
I mean, I've had 4 drinks while we're watching.
Cheers and hope for peace. Ceasefire.
Amen.
That should help my cough a lot. All right. Where to begin? I guess we're just going to start with our head diplomat, Blinken.
Anthony Blinken.
Yeah. who told Israeli war cabinet humanitarian pause will buy Israel time for Gaza operation. His message, according to one U.S. and 2 Israeli officials, was, we don't want to stop you, but help us get you more time. So that's why I know nobody's really wondering. That is the semantic difference between a ceasefire and a humanitarian pause.
Right. And when Blinken is saying more time, it's more time to execute their plan to genocide Armenians and take over the territory.
Palestinians.
I mean, Palestinians. They want to occupy it, and they don't just want to occupy it. They want to occupy it with all Israelis in the country.
Exactly.
They don't want Palestinians there.
Right.
And they're talking about, oh, when we rebuild it, it'll be better for the Palestinians. There won't be Palestinians there.
Yeah. There will not be. They're trying to negotiate with Egypt to take in refugees. They're trying, and they're obviously, they have noticed, how could they not, how the whole world has turned against them. And so while this is happening, they are trying to soften public perception, gain some goodwill. They keep saying the thing about, oh, Israel does its best not to target civilians and precision strikes and all of that. But that propaganda is failing. And then they say things out loud like, we have no red lines. So when you've got John Kirby saying that there are no red lines for how many civilians Israel is allowed to massacre, you can't then turn around and say, we're frustrated by their onslaught, because clearly you could have some red lines. You could sanction them. You could not be one of 2 countries. Basically, there were 14, but 2, who block a UN ceasefire. I mean, what's happening now is so clear to everybody, and it feels like most of the world knows it. I think most of our country knows it, but they're just going to keep using their slogans and hoping that they can get away with it, and they are.
They're getting away with it because we're powerless, basically. But that, there's stuff happening that we're exerting our power, but that's why we don't have a democracy. We don't have a say in our policy. I think the last poll showed 66% of people supported a ceasefire in this country.
Of everybody. That's
astronomically high in a country where no one on TV is telling you to support a ceasefire. I mean, we're getting more coverage than we've ever gotten in the past of the actual war crimes. And there's but that's all it took for people to go, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. 5,000 kids. Like, you just put that number out there and you can't justify carpet bombing and killing 5,000 kids under any circumstance. And you can't say it's a targeted attack when you accidentally killed 5,000 kids.
No, of course not. I mean, a whole generation is being lost. And, people pointed out that in 2002, Israel said that they got one of the leaders of Hamas. And I think at the time, we have the article, I think at the time there was 8 children were among them, but I think there was a total of 14 civilians. But anyway, and Bush and his whole administration, Ari Fleischer, heavy-handed action does not contribute to peace. This message will be conveyed to Israeli authorities, and the United States regrets the loss of life. So here are 2 enormous war criminals who lied us into Iraq, killed 1 million Iraqis based on a lie. But God, 21 years ago, they knew at least that they had to say that.
And I mean, it wasn't that long ago when Russia attacked Ukraine and they were accusing Putin of war crimes for something like 40 or 50 children had been killed. And that was over weeks of the Ukraine invasion.
Yep.
And so how do you then look your audience in the eye if you're at the Pentagon, having said that yourself?
Yep.
And you're answering questions about why 5,000 dead kids is not a war crime in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just no, sorry, I'm trying to read all of your, what you're saying. The international working class has no country. We're starting to take power into our own hands, regardless of state or country. Keep that in mind. Yeah. I mean, that has been the one thing, is watching dock workers refuse to load cargo that's ammunition or weapons going to Israel, you know, watching all the protests. But
We've got dock workers in Barcelona refusing to load or unload ships carrying war materials for Israel.
that's right. And in Tacoma, Washington, here I saw that was happening in the States.
We've got in Oakland, the ports in Oakland.
Okay. Yep.
They were protesting. We had a lot of kayakers and people on canoes and boats blocking some of these boats from getting with their cargo.
Yeah. So it's happening, but you know, just not fast enough. I mean, watching these children in the rubble. But all right, so let's just go back to where we are right now. At this point, the UN is reporting that Israeli forces have killed, and so what was this? This was 2 days ago. 88 UN aid workers, more than have ever been killed in any single conflict in history. 47 UN buildings and more than 100 health facilities have been hit by those precision Israeli airstrikes. This is a violation of international law, clearly.
And, you know, they don't talk about it, but I mean, over 50 Americans have been killed too. Like,
yeah.
If you're going to be tribal about your country, we're letting our ally kill 50 Americans.
What are you talking about, the hostages? Or no?
No, just 50 American citizens in Palestine.
I did not know that. Yeah, there's just very little. And when, you know, whether it's our citizens, aid workers, the hostages, the ones who are still living have no hope of surviving, even if that's, they can't even pretend at this point, Israel, that what they're trying to do is get the hostages. I mean, clearly that is not their goal, because as they flatten one building after another, I mean, of course they're killing everybody in there. And, you know, more and more reports are coming out about even just that first day on October 7th and how much of the damage was actually done by IDF soldiers. But as they
well, we're on the death toll.
Yeah.
46 journalists that you put this up a second ago.
Yeah.
And was it Blinken who was over telling Qatar not to telling them to
tone it down on their coverage for Al Jazeera.
Yeah, tone it down on their coverage for Al Jazeera. And then one of the main reporters for Al Jazeera had his family killed in his house. And here are 46 Palestinian journalists that died. It's allegedly the most ever, I think, right?
Yeah. The Committee to Protect Journalists, this is the highest fatality rate for journalists in any conflict in history. And, you know, we know what they did with Shireen Abu Akleh. They also, you know, they've targeted AP buildings before. Listen, nobody on CNN or MSNBC or in any legacy media is coming to the defense talking about these journalists. They were all clutching their pearls when Jim Acosta got called a name by Trump. But when it comes down to actual courage in being a reporter or journalist, not one of these people in corporate media has, they won't ever talk about Julian Assange ever. And right now, their colleagues who are much braver and more committed than they are being slaughtered by Israel, and they will not say a thing.
No, but they love, that they answer questions about war crimes with the initial attack. Like that justifies anything that comes after it. Like that's clearly ridiculous. They talk about the hostages. Well, if you need to get these hostages back. The number one thing you can do is stop bombing them yourselves.
Yeah.
They're bombing the hostages. And when we talk about hostages, no, that's not the slide. But
oh, you're talking
something
about the
like
Palestinian.
There are like 10,000 Palestinian hostages.
Yeah. I know that's the other thing is, listen, what happened on October 7th, I know there are varying opinions, but, for people who believe 100% that was an act of terror, and I think, what did they say, like 250 hostages were taken that day? That day, since then, 4,000 Palestinian hostages have been taken, and nobody talks about that. And plus, the whole reason that Hamas gives for that attack was to get back those Palestinian prisoners of war who are being kept. Some of them children, some of them haven't been charged, who are in Israeli jails. So yeah, I mean, they're in jails, they're prisoners, but they're hostages. That's what they are. Nobody is talking about that at all. I had a thought and it just disappeared. There he goes. Sorry. All right. So going back though to the other screen that you were showing, as you know, we had Biden say he has no faith in those numbers. The way everything is framed, I was listening to the BBC World News a couple of days ago, and they said something about the Hamas-directed Ministry of Health claims that, however many have been killed after they massacred 1,400 Israelis. It was all like put in the passive and Hamas claims, but then for Israelis, it was massacred. And again, we are finding out that some of those massacred were massacred by their own IDF soldiers. But anyway,
right. And
yeah.
That's where this slide comes in, is that
right.
Israel is claiming that they killed 20,000.
Right. So as Biden's trying to put, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, but Biden and his administration are floating this idea that you can't trust the numbers from those guys, those lying Palestinians. Meanwhile, those numbers are backed up by the UN, all kinds of organizations come up with those numbers. You got literal names to the people. There's probably something like 2,000 to 3,000 more children that are unaccounted for, that are under the rubble, but they don't have names, so they're not being counted in this. It's just clear as day that this is happening. It's not, but he muddies the water to the public by saying you can't trust the numbers. And then so that gives people permission, if you trust Joe Biden, to also not trust the numbers.
Right. Yeah, it's really evil. I mean, it really is evil. I know you were talking about this before, but this is just such a stark contrast, as we were told that, Russia was committing war crimes. And obviously, wait, I just want to go back. The situation between Russia and Ukraine is very different to me than the situation between Israel and Palestine. But even if you just want to operate on the assumption that totally unprovoked attack and, this is the difference. So this in Ukraine, it's been 563 days, and the number on the light green, I have to look, is killed, and the dark purple is the number of those who are children. So on the left in Ukraine, that bar that's in the 9,000s of killed people, and 17,000 are injured. And that's in 563 days. And then with Palestine, and this isn't even accurate anymore because I think they're upwards of 10,000 and the IDF is claiming it's 20,000. But anyway, 8,796 killed and 24,000 injured. So, at this pace, and this is when we had John Kirby crying because you've never seen something like what Russia's doing to Ukrainians and the war crimes, and we can never negotiate with Putin. We've got to do a regime change because he is so despicable. He's worse than Hitler. I don't know. What does that make Netanyahu?
I mean, it's disgusting. You can't look at this chart with, almost 2 years in Ukraine, 554 children dead. Awful tragedy of war. Nobody's right in this situation. 25 days, though, 3,648 children killed. And we're endorsing this and not saying a word about changing
No red
course on it.
lines. No red lines. Yeah. Yeah, so they're saying that Israel has dropped the equivalent of 2 nuclear bombs on Gaza because of the impact of the bombs and the small space that they are being dropped in. I mean, thousands and thousands. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure everybody's having the same thing, but I wake up in the middle of the night just thinking, like, what? I don't know what I don't know what to do. I just cannot believe this is happening while we're all just sitting here and nobody is doing anything about it. I mean, and so I know we'll get to this, but, you know, when people are resigning and they're saying we're watching a genocide, we're working in the State Department, we're working at the UN, we are screaming at the top of our lungs and we are powerless to affect change. And these are people in the exact places that's all they're supposed to be doing, is preventing things like this. And they aren't able to do anything.
And the only power we have within the government is, you know, the squad, the progressives. We don't, but let's just say that we do. But Rashida Tlaib, Palestinian, Congress censures her. I mean, and what did they censure her for? For repeating what is now allegedly a racist trope, which is from the river to the sea. But they always leave out the last part: Palestine will be free, which is not calling for the extermination of Jewish people. Even the ADL, where's the ADL quote on that?
It's... Only recently have organizations such as the ADL taken the position that from the river to the sea is an anti-Semitic slogan. On May 3rd, 2022, the ADL website referred to the slogan as a slogan commonly featured in pro-Palestinian campaigns and chanted at demonstrations. Nowhere in the 2022 description is there a mention of anti-Semitism. On October 26, 2023, the position on the website was changed to include is an anti-Semitic slogan. The whole backgrounder changed on 10/26. The change came as public opinion on Israel and the genocide began shifting. Why the change now? The change in public opinion has led to a campaign and tactic to silence pro-Palestinian and pro-peace voices. Rather than talking about Israel's genocide, people are debating a chant and targeting Rashida Tlaib. The distraction is part of the objective. You know, I do just want to say that even in there, and he does have screenshots, and we just filled up our whole studio as we normally do with graphics and weren't able to include them. But you know, of course there are groups who have used that chant, and those groups are also ones that want the destruction of Israel and are wildly anti-Semitic. So, you know, I don't want to take that away, but that is not the genesis of that phrase. And people use different phrases all the time. I mean, I think, you know, somebody wrote like hey, America, listen up, from sea to shining sea, right? Like that's right. Something we all say. I guess it does mean the genocide of Native Americans.
It's in the charter of one of the main political parties in Israel. The same exact line.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I don't want to overstep it, but I think how it's used in their charter is implicitly to get their land back. So
that they have historical and biblical claim to the land.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, listen, as we delve further in and we're like, well, the U.S. definitely committed genocide here, and that's what Israel's doing. So, you know, it's like, I think we're making a little bit of the opposite case as we delve deeper in. But to single out one group of people who are being persecuted and slaughtered, and the Israeli government is making it very clear that they want to either kill them all or make them all leave that land, to focus on from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, as the explicitly anti-Semitic, hurtful, genocidal phrase is really doing a lot of pretzels and somersaults to try to justify your feeling of persecution.
And that was literally 2 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, they changed this. Like,
yeah,
we'd already, the war had started. So they decide mid-war to make a phrase that had been around forever.
Yeah.
To criminalize supporting that phrase. I mean,
exactly.
That's what we're getting to. And the hypocrisy is that look at what wasn't criminalized. I mean, I don't want to criminalize speech anyway, but
I mean, like, sorry, is that what you were going to show? Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to talk about the Republican flat in the mall, the parking lot guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, but can we just also talk about what the actual Israeli government is saying out loud? These are people in the government saying, like, we could maybe drop an atomic bomb on Gaza. We wouldn't hand the Nazis humanitarian aid. There's no such thing as uninvolved civilians in Gaza. He backs retaking the Strip's territory and restoring the settlements there. Asked about the fate of Palestinian population, he says they can go to Ireland or deserts. The monsters in Gaza should find a solution by themselves. The Northern Strip has no right to exist. Anybody waving a Palestinian or Hamas flag shouldn't continue living on the face of the earth. This guy is in the government of Israel. And there's another one.
But I just want to point out, very explicitly, he says Palestinian flag.
Right.
So that's not Hamas. That's not calling for targeted attacks. Anyone with the Palestinian flag should die, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's a government position.
Government, somebody in the government. And this woman also, the same thing. Either the monsters in Gaza flee to Egypt or get killed. Erase the whole of Gaza. Here's an IDF officer. The happiest month of my life, as long as I live. Over 40 years, the land is ours, the whole country, all of it, including Gaza, including Lebanon, the whole promised land. We're going to come back big time. So that's somehow fine and no red lines. Yes, and then go ahead, because I know you're going to talk about some of our own Republican representatives here. Wow, my face is so red.
Well, I mean, Max Miller, he said this on Fox. Israel needs to take the gloves off. Murder is murder and terrorism is terrorism. Turn the place into a parking lot. I believe Israel will get a lot bigger, not smaller. So, I mean, if you're going to come after, if you're going to censure people, I mean, that's calling for some real violence against civilians right there. And it's pretty fucking racist.
Yep. House Republican proposes bill to expel Palestinians from the U.S. That's
we'll just
Representative Ryan Zinke.
Kick all of the people out of our country.
Yeah. But this is where they're focused on Rashida Tlaib, and disgustingly, what were there, 22 Democrats that voted to censure her? Some of our favorites on there, Gottheimer, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Richie Torres. Ugh, yeah.
Let's show the clip of
Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah, I think we should show her pleading to not be censured.
I can't believe I have to say this, but Palestinian people are not disposable. We are human beings, just like anyone else. My city, my grandmother, like all Palestinians, just wants to live her life with freedom and human dignity we all deserve. Speaking up to save lives, Mr. Chair, no matter faith, no matter ethnicity, should not be controversial in this chamber. The cries of the Palestinian and Israeli children sound no different to me. Why? What I don't understand is why the cries of Palestinians sound different to you all. 71% of Michigan Democrats support a ceasefire. So you can try to censor me, but you can't silence their voices. I urge my colleagues to join with the majority of Americans and support a ceasefire now to save as many lives as possible. President Biden must listen to and represent all of us, not just some of us. I urge the president to have the courage to call for a ceasefire and the end of killings.
Yeah. So she was censured, but not the people who want to make Gaza a parking lot.
Yeah, and here are a couple great Dems coming out against her. Let's see, we got good old Richie Torres.
I voted for the censure resolution calling for the end of Israel as a Jewish state through the insidious phrase, "From the river to the sea crosses a line of hate speech that no public official should ever cross. Congress has a right to take a principled stand against hate speech calling for the destruction of the world's only Jewish nation state." Pat, you got your readers on for that big number over there on the right?
$141,008, and that's from APAC.
Interesting.
There's another good one out here.
Oh, look at that.
Good old Fetterman.
In my front office, I've displayed the posters of the innocent Israelis kidnapped by Hamas. They will stay up until every single person is safely returned home.
And J Street PAC gave him $174,000.
You know, and again, like I do want, hostages returned. But where are the names of the 10,000 Palestinians who are being held in Israeli jails, not charged with a crime? It's
Look, we all support the hostages being released. I mean, it's just humanity 101, right? That's a no-brainer. But like, to make that your issue, and he put this video out scrolling his office, and he's got all these how about 5,000 children dead? Why don't you put something up for them? Maybe a nod to stopping,
a genocide.
You're going to keep adding every child until they stop killing children.
Yeah.
But of course he's getting all this money from Israel. So not going to do it.
Yeah. So in the meantime, there have been, not from the US, but from other countries, multiple countries are recalling their envoys and diplomats. I think Bolivia was the first, then Colombia and Chile, Jordan, Bahrain, Honduras, Turkey, Chad, South Africa. It's starting, the global South is very much anti this genocidal apartheid state. But, they've got to exercise their financial power. They can sanction the U.S. and Israel when their BRICS monetary system really, kicks in. I mean, I don't know how else to put pressure, because it seems like money is the only thing that matters to anybody.
Yeah, well, they're really trying to stop us from protesting in any way. The BDS movement. I mean, they want to make it synonymous, if you don't support Israel carte blanche, that you are an anti-Semite, and it's illegal. Let's show this clip. I know this. This is on me. This clip, I found it, and it's got some animations on the screen. It had nothing to do with the clip, but I think it's it tells us a lot about how our country is and who owns us.
No, we're not talking about an obscure law. What we're talking about is an Israeli loyalty oath law that is becoming so common in the United States, it's now pervasive. Take a look at the map. You see the red states? See all of those red states? 26 states have enacted loyalty oath legislation. And let me show you the other one, the navy blue ones, the blue ones you see there. That's where this law is now pending. So 26 acted on, passed, 13 pending, only 11 states, the light blue ones you see there, the baby blue or the light blue, those are the ones where you can boycott Israel and, you know, criticize Israel if you want. Again, look, it bears repeating. There is no such law keeping you from denouncing or boycotting the United States of America, or even advocating causes that harm the U.S. economically. But there are laws from doing that against Israel. Curious, eh?
I mean, it is so crazy. Of course, there are laws now. You know, you can't, if you're an environmental activist, if you're anti-capitalist, if you're BLM, you know, like there's a bunch of things now that they are trying to criminalize. But yeah, you have to take an oath not to not say anything against Israel, to not support BDS. I mean, what are we protecting in this democracy?
I mean, they're criminalizing speech. That's the path, because they're so in the wrong, you know, is what it comes down to. And we are organizing. I mean, the whole world is coming together against Israel in this situation.
Right.
We got protests everywhere. You got Biden staffers
join the protest.
Join the ceasefire protest.
Yep.
You got the State Department. There was a whole big dissent memo. You got Josh Paul, and this was interesting. Part of his resignation included, you know, if we had universal health care, it would make it a bit easier for people to stand up on principle.
He was he resigned 2 weeks ago, but just was on Democracy Now, and was asked about how many other people in the State Department seemed to agree with him. And the implication was there's lots of them, but we're also financially strapped that not many, you know, not everybody could take a stand. Yeah. It is interesting though to see, like, you know, I'm sure everybody saw it, but there was a clip of Joyanne Reed who's, you know, wondering how we are allowing this to happen, and that's on MSNBC.
Which was quite amazing. I mean, none of us want to give any credit to MSNBC.
I know. We have the clip, and I'm like, oh my God, do I show Joyanne Reed on our show?
But it does show how much this issue is penetrated, because they can't ignore it. They can't. Their credibility is gone out the window if they don't cover some of the atrocity. And so, I mean, I think we show it just to shock. This is a shock and awe campaign here.
Okay, here we go.
And don't watch it at MSNBC just because we.
Yeah, this is the only.
And given these bombings are being done using our tax dollars, perhaps we should ask some questions. For example, how does bombing a densely populated land strip filled 50% with children constitute self-defense? How does bombing hospitals, churches, mosques, and UN schools constitute self-defense? Well, you say if Hamas fighters are hiding in the hospital using the civilians as human shields, okay, let's say they are. Are you arguing that flattening the hospital and killing newborns in their incubators and their moms in the NICU, cancer patients, someone with a broken leg, the doctors, nurses, and just the women and kids hiding in the hospital, that's not a war crime? Because you would be wrong, according to international law.
Yeah. And at this point, the IDF has killed more hostages, of its own hostages, that they say they're trying to, free, than they've killed leaders of Hamas. Yeah. So there's that precision striking right there. All right. What do you think?
Is there anything on Israel we want to make sure we cover? I mean, there's more. We got a lot.
I know we have so much more, but I'm feeling like, what do you think?
Should we show Abby Martin? Let's show Abby Martin.
Yeah.
Let's show Mehdi.
No, but that's for the worst of the week.
Okay, never mind.
Because we're coming back to Israel. All right.
Listeners in my ear saying I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's so many like tropes that we hear. Yeah, there's the human shield. There's the, well, why don't the other Arab countries take them in? There's, all the things that so many of us who've grown up Jewish have heard our whole lives. And I think we're finally getting some really well thought out responses to that. So I guess do you want to just play them?
No, let's just move on.
Really?
We'll come back to it. Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Today?
Or did I convince you? I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
Well, no, I didn't want to do the part that we're going to do for worst of the week, but
Yeah,
I want to do the other stuff.
Let's spin the wheel so we can get some timeline cleanses.
All right, I think that's good. I think we need a little joy. All
We'll
right,
land on it.
we're going to come back, I'm sure. Yeah, okay.
The wheel knows. We'd let the wheel.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my God, look at that. Look at that. You
All
needed
according
it.
to
You
plan.
asked for it. It came. You can choose first.
Oh, I get to pick? All right,
Yeah,
what do we
yeah,
got
go
here? Timeline cleanse, timeline. I haven't seen your crazy dog one. Let's watch your crazy dog.
I don't know karate, but I do know crazy, and I'm not afraid to use it. It's from Shanghai Noon, one of my favorite movies. Anyway, all right.
Well, I need to open a beer, so I'm going to show another one real quick.
Awesome.
Oh no, I'm okay. No. It's okay. No. Too much. It's okay.
It's like looking in a mirror. That's me every night. Oh, can't hear you.
Since we're on that, I have one real short one I pulled, which reminded me of your cocktail machine.
I know my Jeeves. Let's see it.
Lila has is Jeeves? Is that what it's called?
I call it that because my butler Jeeves. I'm like, whatever I want. Just,
You know, you have the espresso pods. Hers, you put in little alcohol pods, and it's amazing. It's
pretty
heavy.
cool.
But so this, I just saw this. I just pulled it to share with her, but I'm just going to show it to everybody.
And it goes like this. We get in your car and you need to kiss me. We'll talk for hours and night on the backseat.
Mine isn't as fancy as that. That looks really good, but it was pretty cool while it lasted. It was pretty cool.
It's done.
Drink.
That's right. They went out of business.
They
or something, right?
discontinued it, and this never happened, but they let me keep it and all the pods, and then they sent me back the whole amount of money that it cost.
Oh, I should have been an investor.
I know. All right, we spinning.
Yeah, baby.
Give me a shot. Record it now.
You might have to make it audible.
I'm nailing it.
All right, you are here.
Shot. I got to say, after drinking Arak, my beer tastes so good.
I can't taste anything because of all my cough drops and my cold medicine and my cough medicine. My tongue is
It's like drinking
menthol.
hot licorice somehow. Hot black licorice.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
The reason I don't have it. Oh, look at that. We're right back on Israel. as I didn't have access to a car. We decided last night, and I didn't have access to a car, so I'm still just doing vodka. So that's why I'm a little out of it on the drink, but I can't wait to try it. Okay, back to Israel. Oh,
Wait a minute.
what? Oh,
God
yes.
damn it. Where is it? Did we delete it? Is it gone?
Did you take it away? Oh, your great intro. No, here.
There it is.
Worst of the week.
All right.
Hey, listen, if the trips on the Lolita Express hadn't already convinced you, Alan Dershowitz has another act to follow. Here he goes.
Remember that the citizens of Gaza, these innocent civilians who so many people are shedding tears about, they voted for Hamas in the last election, and they would probably vote for Hamas today. So yeah, they're non-combatants, they're civilians, but they're supporters of Hamas. Whereas the people who were killed in Israel, many of them were not supporters of Netanyahu. Many of them represented kind of left-wing kibbutzniks, peace activists, people who are opposed to the Netanyahu government, people who wanted a two-state solution, people who were opposed to the settlements, people who were opposed to the occupation, and they were killed. And so when you look at these civilian deaths, you have to ask yourself a question. How many of them really are civilians?
God, he's just so repellent. And he knows better. He absolutely knows. He knows the last time there were elections. He knows the age that half of them are under 18. This is the height of propaganda.
Yeah, and you know he knows by the way he says it. He says the last election,
Right.
Just floats the last election.
Right.
And this is the one good thing about Twitter, the fact check community, whatever notes thing.
Yeah, community notes, yeah.
The only thing that's ever improved in that site since the day I got on it, pretty much.
Yeah. I get lots
They called him out on
it. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I want to say I called him out on all the things that they called him out on before the notes were up because he was full of shit.
Yeah.
But Mehdi Hassan did a great recap on why this is wrong. So instead of us talking, you can listen to Mehdi here for a second.
It's been a constant refrain in some circles since the start of this conflict between Hamas and Israel. There's no difference between Hamas and the people of Gaza because the Gazans elected Hamas, to quote Republican Senator Tom Cotton. The citizens of Gaza voted for Hamas, to quote once liberal lawyer Alan Dershowitz. That's just false, incorrect, untrue. First, half the population of Gaza are kids under the age of 18. The vast majority of them were not alive, let alone old enough to vote the last time elections were held in Gaza back in 2006, 17 years ago. Second, Hamas didn't even get a majority of the vote back in 2006. And in fact, even this year, prior to the current conflict, one survey found only 27% of Gazans, barely 1 in 4, picked Hamas as their preferred party. And third, even if everyone in Gaza had voted for Hamas, supported Hamas, they're still civilians, protected by international humanitarian law. They still can't be targeted. The kind of people who think you can target people for death because they voted the wrong way are people like Osama bin Laden. That's literally what he claimed in his open letter to America back in 2002. Casualties, however, in Gaza continue to mount. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, at least 9,770 people have been killed in total since October the 7th, including 4,008 children.
It's just so disgusting that they have been on this campaign for my whole life to make anybody who is Arab or Muslim equal to being a terrorist, which is why, the jump then to say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, automatically then means, well, they're all going to want us dead, right? And maybe it has something to do with the way they've been treated for 75 years. But to make every single person necessarily a combatant just because you're born a criminal, you're born a terrorist. So even if you are under 18, even if you're 0, that is how you are perceived by so many people, Zionists, that you are, one way or the other, you're a terrorist.
You're barbaric. And that's why the lies initially told were crucial to set off this genocide.
Yeah.
If they didn't come out with the 40 decapitated babies story, which we have none, there are none reported.
Not one.
Not
No.
one. And we also know that a lot of these people, a lot of the civilians were killed by IDF. They rushed into hostage situations. They rushed into lots of places. A lot of the civilian deaths were actually by IDF.
Right.
So, I mean,
And also, just as a reminder, and again, nobody should just be killed. Like, I am not a proponent of that. But, in Israel, when everybody's conscripted to the army, that makes a much better case for everyone is actually sort of a combatant. Here, the IDF put out a list, and it's way too small to see, but this is just to show you the graphic. These are the names of the 1,400 plus victims brutally murdered by Hamas terrorists 1 month ago today. Some of the victims have still not been identified. Remember their names. Meanwhile, I do just have to say, and I mean, to quibble with numbers, it's all awful. And I hate doing sort of like, slaughter competitions, like whose death is worse. But I think that Haaretz is still only saying that there have been like 1,300 that were completely confirmed, but who cares? Any loss of life is awful. But then people went through and highlighted every single name that was actually an IDF soldier. And the way you know that is because it's listed there as, corporal, sergeant, private, major, whatever, general. And so anyone that had that in front of the name, that title, is highlighted here, which is almost half, which again, I didn't want anybody to die. I'm not a proponent of that. But for Alan Dershowitz to say that, most of the people who have been killed, the 20,000 people that the IDF is saying they've killed, are women, children, non-combatants.
well, but you got the people that weren't born when they could vote, and their kids, and what are you going to do about them? They just have to be bad people. They have to be, they're future terrorists. That's how they see it, period. It's just so, for a lawyer to use such a bad argument. I mean, Dershowitz is famous for being a brilliant lawyer, allegedly, right?
But, that convinces a lot of people, and 10 years ago, there wasn't Mehdi Hassan or other people on national news rebutting that. And I will, that's the kind of thing I heard a lot of growing up. So it's resonated with people. I mean, there are people who are, when they see pro-Palestinian marches for ceasefire, Jewish people who feel threatened just by that. And if you feel threatened by seeing people march for peace and liberation for Palestinians,
and every single one of those marches has tons of Israeli citizens and
Jewish
people.
Yeah.
It's I get the fear that, the fear is real to people. It's not like a made up fear, but a lot of these people amplifying that fear, like Dershowitz, are just lying through their teeth.
Yeah.
And creating this dehumanizing effect that they hope just helps justify making. And this is what I don't understand. How any of this makes Israel safer is beyond me. Like, none of it is making them safer. And every Arab country around them, if they didn't before, they want blood against Israel.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's not making Israel safer. It's not making Jews safer. It's not making the Middle East safer. It's not making the world safer.
It's not making America safer at all.
No.
It's not making American Jews any safer.
You know who it's helping?
Yeah, it's good. Every opportunity for capitalism. Every chance.
There is one group of people who really cannot wait for even more massacres. Yeah, so Alan Dershowitz, worst of the week, absolutely. All right, I mean, do we go on to other stuff?
I think that's all we got on Dershowitz. And we have timeline cleanses and shots, and there's a
Yeah, baby.
I'm so red. Oh my god.
Scan through these
Look
shots.
at that. Not red enough. I am not red enough. We gotta have a little more. But that's crazy. Like, why? I'm not normally that red. I must have really drunk it way too fast. Maybe it's with my cough syrup. Cheers.
To Dershowitz getting caught up in Epstein Island stuff, and I don't know, somehow paying a price at some point.
Somehow they're victims with no culprits in that whole situation. It's amazing.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, right?
Oh, okay. I think I'm worried that you pulled too many. That we've already shown all of our.
I think we had one or two left, didn't we?
Yeah. All right. Let's see it.
Oh yeah, we got this one. Roll that one more time. Where do you go?
Where do we go?
No.
Here we are. All right. Should we move on? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm pouring a shot. Let's get it up there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, baby.
Priority. Oh, how did you know that was gonna happen?
I do my prep.
Oh.
I'm not just always sitting around making up numbers.
Making up numbers, I mean, of course there is an Armenian genocide, but yeah.
Giant blind. Look at that cursor.
Look at
Cheers.
that. Cheers.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my god. No, Pat. Are you kidding me?
You wanted me to keep some shots on there, huh?
I know. I did. That's totally my fault. All right. Wow. I'm glad. I have to say, I'm glad I'm not doing shots of the Arak. Am I saying that
That would
right?
be so hard.
It's 100 proof.
Yeah.
Well, this is 80 proof, right? I don't know. I can't read. I can't see straight, and I need my readers.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that.
My face just froze.
You just froze.
I just froze in the worst possible picture ever, and now I have to leave and come back.
That's all right. I'll hold the fort here. I'll
Oh
tell
my
some stories
God.
about Lila.
Yeah, tell stories.
They're gonna love it. Where's Lila? Gone. All right. So what do we got to kill time with? Here's Lila's Panda Fun. I haven't seen this. So Lila chose this. I'm sure it's gonna be wholesome as fuck, and I regret it. So here you go. Well, no, Lila. If you guys want to ask me anything, go nuts. Just do whatever. I'm listening to you. Lila, I told him to ask me anything, so who knows? Could get wild here.
but on the wrong side. I entered the
Yeah.
studio the wrong way. That's like me with my kids when they were little. God, too bad I couldn't have got my hair and makeup to do something about my red. I don't know why I'm so red. Forgive me. I need a mask. All right, we spinning. We got one more segment.
I think we landed on duopoly.
Oh, did you? That right when I froze in that lovely picture. But I really can't stand the way I'm so red. It's all the alcohol. What? Okay.
So it's going well for Biden. We'll start with this.
Look at that. Trump narrowly leads Biden in hypothetical rematch, but that's only if you're focused on the general election, which we know doesn't really count. Let's see when we focus on the swing states. That looks also really bad for Biden, but less slim margin, not barely so much. Trump beats him by 11 points, 10 points in Nevada, 5 points in Arizona, 4 points in Pennsylvania, 6 points in Georgia, 5 points in Michigan, and Wisconsin comes through blue with
a dominating 2 points. That one's not even close. He's flipping his ass.
I mean, that's insane. And then they break it. Yeah.
Well, but they're going to say it's a long time away. A lot can change.
They're already complaining.
These are historically low numbers for anyone who. Nobody with these numbers has won. Is the point.
Yeah.
Nobody has come into an election with unfavorables as high as Joe Biden and won their election as an incumbent. And if you look at those numbers, okay, Michigan was one. Biden's losing Michigan by 5. Democrats just censured Rashida Tlaib from Michigan with a huge Palestinian and Arab population.
Yeah.
They are not switching and going to come on board. So Michigan is gone.
Right.
And you could do that across the board with most of these
Minnesota.
states. He's not going to win them. It's over for Democrats unless they either ditch Biden or it's so bad, they get something out of the courts with Biden. I mean, with Trump that negates his presidency.
I think that's the one thing that's a possibility because again, like obviously Trump is no better on Israel at all.
No, but
or Muslims or anything. It's just people will not come out to vote for Biden. But
it doesn't mean that anyone prefers his policies, but our base, I say our, but the Democratic base is going to be unenthusiastic and not get out of bed. And if there's any rain in the day, I'm not going to get out.
Yeah. And, so his favorability, Biden's, for all the things that were like, made him broadly appealing and empathetic Joe and all that kind of stuff have all gone way down. And now I got to put my readers back on to share who think.
Too old.
I know I'm too old. Too old to be president. So Biden's way up there at 71% to Trump's, 39. Doesn't have the mental sharpness to be president. 62 Biden to 44 Trump. Does not have the temperament to be president. So Trump is still at 55, still higher at 55, and Biden is at 51, up from 39. I mean, the crazy thing is obviously anybody who knew Biden before all of this, we saw him, poking his fingers at people, yelling at them, telling them to go off and, vote for Trump if they didn't like his, immigration stance or union, his temperament's always been awful.
But just to reiterate or reinforce these numbers, right? These aren't just abstract numbers. These are percentages. So 71% across both parties think Biden is too old to be president.
Right.
So let's say the country is split. That's 21% of Democrats that think he's too old. And then we know it's much higher, but that you can't come back from these numbers, he's epically doomed. And for the Democratic Party to be out here saying, you're stopping fascism, this is the only way to do it, they don't believe that. Or they'd put up somebody else, they'd hold a primary, they'd take all the normal steps to prevent fascism, not censure censure your beloved senator in a swing state.
Representative. Yeah, no, absolutely. And then what happens is, Axelrod came out saying it's time for him to go. Of course, Axelrod probably wants Mayor Pete because that's his guy. But, the truth is, who are you going to replace him with? Who has spoken up to say, I don't think that we should be supporting Israel's genocide of Palestinians? Who's going to speak up to say we absolutely need Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic? And even if we didn't have a pandemic, we absolutely need a $35 minimum wage. Unions, we need to protect them at all costs. We need regulations, no more drill. Like, who's going to say the things that would actually make that person preferable? Because right now, we've got this guy who is literally walking in Biden's footsteps. That was Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom falling down the stairs just like Biden.
And I mean, we all know he's the guy that they want to get in there. If something happens to Biden, he's the guy. But his popularity is in the shitter here in California, because people have seen that he's trying to take this national stage, and they look at California. And when Republicans mock California for our homeless problem, look, their solutions are all wrong, but California is fucked up. We do pay ridiculous amount of money in gas here.
Yep.
We have lots of problems, and the hypocrisy of
allowing
Gavin
drilling.
Newsom,
allowing
all the drilling, selling more permits offshore,
pretending that he's for Medicare for all or universal health care, and then making sure it never gets to the floor.
Yeah, but
vetoing 3 union bills just 2 weeks ago.
But his own unpopularity in the state, he was almost recalled. And a lot of that had to do with this bullshit over COVID, where he was just a hypocrite. He was out at the French Laundry, which is the bougiest restaurant in all of California. During COVID, it was, what's good for you is not good for me kind of stuff. And he was seen as a second, he was a hypocrite. And and he's not, people that bought into his mystique saw his recent, all the bills he signed and vetoed. He vetoed all kinds of progressive legislation that had to go through all the fucking hoops to get to him. And he's like, no.
Yep. And I mean,
and that's
really,
because he's running.
He's running anti-union, anti-worker bills. He vetoed pro-union, pro-worker bills, and he vetoed them. Because, if he's running, which he's going to, he needs the big donor class. And in California, that's big tech. It's the Hollywood studios. So, he's no friend of the working class, and people here know that. And then also, this is a personal thing, but I don't know, the fact that he was either married to or in a relationship with the lady who's married to Donald Trump's son is just so heinous. The fact that he's part of the whole Pelosi, mafia. He's just disgusting. So anyway, but people are really getting upset that anybody would call for Biden not to run. So Axelrod, James Carville, Tim Ryan, right?
Look, I will say, as much as I don't like him, I still think he has an easy path to beating a Republican if he wanted to, if the Democratic Party wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should go vote for him. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's a sold out progressives left and right, but there's no doubt that he would be more popular than Joe Biden with.
Why do you think
Our
they
own
aren't?
party.
I agree with you. I mean, he's slick. He's actually, I think, the only, I mean, he's not even a candidate, but he's the only one right now that couldn't even come to mind who speaks well, who sounds like how I think a lot of us grew up thinking a politician should sound. He's not as good as Barack Obama, but he's close. He has a way of presenting himself, even as he says repugnant things, that feels like people's image of a decent politician.
Right.
Why do you think that the establishment is not just coming down? Because is it because of Kamala? You think they just cannot figure out how to get rid of her? Because now they're like, oh, she's our secret weapon. Wildly popular. People scream for
Honestly,
her. The young people love her.
the Democratic Party is a bunch of cliques. It's a bunch of elitist cliques, and you got your people, and you make deals along the way. So donors make deals, and the higher up in the party you are, the more money you're responsible for bringing in from donors. So you have more allegiance from the donors. And so, if Biden was just like, fuck it, I'm out, nobody would have a problem with it.
Right.
People have already bought Biden.
Yeah.
So they want to get a return on their investment. And even if he loses, a lot of these people, that works because, they're going to get something probably a little even more in their favor as a businessman donor with a Republican, but not necessarily, but they win either way. They just need to stop a progressive. And Newsom has on some issues been progressive in the past. So there's probably some fear on some level by some of these people that he's actually a progressive. But look, they've all accepted it. He's proven himself. He's got the bona fides after all these vetoes. All this was an advertisement to the donor class.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. And then the only response to people who say, I absolutely will not vote for Joe Biden, and especially like even at the, peace marches, ceasefire marches, is, well, who are you going to vote for then? Trump? Like, if that is your only response, I think that Democrats think that what happened today or yesterday with weed passing and abortion being, codified in Ohio and
Virginia, I think.
Yeah, and Kentucky reelecting Bashir. I think they think, well, see, this is what's going to happen. But the truth is, that's not a Biden thing. That's those specific either ballot measures or people. I don't think that it's going to be. I don't think the anti-Trump thing is going to be enough. I don't think that the row is going to be enough because Biden did nothing with that. The only thing I think that might sway some people who would vote for Trump not to is if he's actually sitting in jail. If he's just like found guilty but can pay for something or, however they like, but if he's actually sitting in jail, I think that's going to affect at least a wide enough segment or margin that might be the only thing, which is clearly all Democrats. That is the only concerted effort that they've made is to try to get Trump to go to jail.
Look, if I'm being honest, I know I'm an outlier here, but I kind of think Trump might get 14th amended at some point. And if he does, what happens then? If he's ruled he can't run, then Nikki Haley could come in and beat Joe Biden easily. I mean, a lot of Republicans, sad as it is, could be it. What it depends on is how Trump's base sees the move and how that's all framed for that. If he can get his supporters to go, if Nikki Haley comes out and says, oh my God, Trump's a victim. You got to elect me to get him out of jail. They're all going to come vote for Nikki Haley. So that's not going to make a difference. And look, you can't win with Joe Biden unless the stars align. I mean, he got away with COVID. COVID got him through the first time, but he can't win on people who backed him on COVID. He can't win on people who backed him to legalize marijuana. He can't, let people out of jail for marijuana crimes. Those people aren't going to vote for him. People who were like, save abortion. Well, you fucking blew abortion. So that's not enough to get me out to vote. You didn't cancel my student debt.
Yeah.
I
Build
mean,
the wall. I mean, he is bypassing 26 federal laws to continue Trump's wall.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a Democrat, you should be screaming. If you're a tried and true, I'm voting blue, we've got to stop the right, you should be screaming to get Joe Biden out, not telling everybody to shut up about Joe Biden. You should be Axelrod saying we got to pull the plug on this fucking guy because we got to stop the right. So if you're not doing that, don't ask me as a progressive to do it, because I know his betrayal. I know he's probably worse for the left than somebody on the right, as bad as Trump is.
Yeah. And Axelrod's just going to try to shoehorn Mayor Pete in there. So it's not a good situation. The only national political figure who came to Rashida Tlaib's defense that I know about is Cornel West. So I don't have a ton of confidence in his campaign right now. It's very depressing, but he is the only one.
What's left of the Democratic Party? I mean, like, they literally watched a progressive get censured for a song, for supporting a song.
Or a chant, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, chant. I think it's a song too, but I don't know. But whatever.
But whatever. Anyway.
That's what we're... And the war, the Israeli-Palestinian war is going to be so unpopular a month from now. It's already incredibly unpopular. A month from now, 2 months from now, it's Vietnam. People are going to think, what the fuck are we doing? Why is our government doing this? They think that now.
Yeah. Well, and right now, the U.S. seems set up to take on even more than just helping Israel genocide Palestinians, right? I mean, they're like Lebanon, Iran, like they are, and the more of our service people who are stationed over there where they are not wanted because those countries don't want our soldiers stealing their oil and their resources, but the more that our service people get shot at or have accidental deaths or whatever, the more chance there is for the whole thing to blow open. I mean, it's terrifying. I think we lost Pat. I think he's frozen. At first I thought he was just riveted, but now I'm realizing he's frozen. Okay. It is 6:49. We have loved being here with you. I don't know why we have so many technical difficulties lately with StreamYard. We've tried to find a replacement. It's not going well, but we will keep searching because it's so frustrating. I have not been able to read everybody's comments yet, but I did see the general vibe in the comments, which, we talk about all the time and we agree with wholeheartedly, is that the only hope that we all have is for the working class to come together and band together internationally to fight for what we all deserve. And so in that vein, our one good thing is this compilation or this time lapse of the march this past Saturday. There are many more marches, direct action, boycotts, strikes that will be happening both to affect, our own lives and salaries and healthcare, but also the world, and to try to end this disgusting slaughter of Palestinians. So thank you all for tuning in. We're going to go out on our one good thing. Cheers. Keep punching up.